That's for us. It's for all of us in checks.
All of us in checks. He said there's one CD that we have to sign. Well, maybe not one. He said this is the CD that we need to sign. So I guess we'll sign it here.
What do we need to sign this? How many people need to sign it? Well, I was gonna say that there's no need to everybody signing it. That's what
I thought the treasurer's. I'm the treasurer, he's the secretary. I know, I forgot who I was too today. I told Paul I would.
I'll be in the bagel. Have any statements to make, or let me ask?
I just saw it on next door, and I thought, we really on.
There are some scattered seats up here in front. I think there's one or two in the back if y'all want to.
Ladies, we got some seats up front.
I'm Betty Brown. Betty Brown. I'm Betty Brown. Hi.
Bless you.
Well, it's 20 seconds till time. Let's go ahead and commence this meeting. This is a irregular meeting of the River Plantation Municipal Utility District, and will now be called to order. May I remind everybody that since we have a number of people here and probably a number of comments, that we're going to limit comments to 3 minutes per person or per family. Surely the wife and mother and husband are talking to each other and can agree on what kind of comments they want to make. If there are any questions of the board, I would like for you to direct them to the board member that you think should answer. Okay? All right. First comment, John Gandy. Do you want to make a comment or no?
I don't want to make a comment, I'd like to ask some questions.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Kind of going out of order of the agenda. Can we get Paul off the,
Oh, what we do? We forget the minutes?
yeah,
We have
to confirm the minutes.
All right.
minutes?
Excuse me. So many people here made me nervous.
Then can we switch the order, because Richard sent the agenda out? Can we get Paul off the clock so we don't have to keep paying him while the comments go?
No, I think everybody needs to make their comment.
Correct. Paul needs to hear it.
I think you need to hear from the public before we make any decision.
We've already made the decision. We made the decision
Julie.
3 months ago.
Julie, I'm running the show.
Okay.
Confirm the minutes of the past meeting, September the 26th. Are there any additions or subtractions to those minutes? If so, I'd entertain a motion to accept as written.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor of accepting the minutes as
Aye.
written? Say aye.
Aye.
It so passes. Now the comments. John, your turn.
Okay, I'm John Gandy. I've lived here in River Plantation for 50 years. And I've been kind of antisocial here for the last couple of 3 years, but I'd like to know more about what you're planning. And so I guess my first question is, why do we want to need a 68-acre park? What are we doing?
Who are you directing the question to?
Board, I don't know, you gotta pick somebody to answer it, I don't know.
Name somebody.
How about you, Jack?
Well, we may, each one of us may have a different answer to your question. That's what I'm trying to,
Oh, so you're not in this, I thought y'all were all in agreement, you'd already voted on this.
no.
There was a vote.
There
I mean,
was a
that's
There
the-
was a vote
And it was a vote to do the project.
to proceed to a point to where we are today.
I don't think that's accurate, Jack. The vote was to condemn the Charleston course, and that vote happened. The reason I'm here is simply a procedural matter.
All right.
Once you determine to take that course, I have to reappear to you time to time, asking you to sign papers, approve things. That's why I'm here. The vote already happened 3 months ago.
Stuff like that.
Go ahead,
hopefully
John.
that
Did
answers your question
did that answer
somewhat.
your question?
Well, I still don't know why the board thinks we need a 68 acre park. I don't understand that. Is it gonna raise our water costs? Is it gonna raise, we're gonna get our new water well, or, you know, there's a lot of questions, but I can't get them all here tonight.
John, the board voted to proceed, and this is my opinion,
Yeah,
I
don't go ahead.
voted to proceed with a proceeding to condemn part of, or all of Charleston Golf Course.
Okay.
We don't know what it's gonna cost. That will go before a judge and jury at a condemnation proceeding. Our estimated cost thus far, and I'll quote the lawyer from 2 or 3 meetings ago, roughly $100,000 to do that.
And that's the legal work.
That's the legal one.
Okay.
Add to that roughly another $25,000 in engineering and appraisal work. And that's just to get it to the court. Okay? Now the court then decides, we present a number X, they present a number Y, and the court then decides Z. The question at that point is, and where you're aiming is, where does the money come from?
That's it.
As we sit today, we have ample, we don't know what the number Z is, but as we sit today, we have approximately $3 million in the bank, of which approximately 2.2 is available currently. That's barring any other difficulties. Okay? That's the best I can answer your question.
Okay, I guess where I'm headed is if you spend whatever part, I don't know what part, but, and then you have a catastrophe, and now the MUD doesn't have the money to take care of the catastrophe, what do we do?
We float a bond, we get a loan, or we apply for a grant.
And raise the water.
Raise the
bill
taxes,
and everything.
raise the water rates, raise the sewer rates. That is correct. That's the alternative.
That's kind of where I kept coming from. I thought that's the only way you could do it, and I think our water well's pretty old.
And believe me, if we lose a well, which has been, shall I say, predicted by the engineering firm that we had present here a month or so ago at the meeting. If we lose that well, and we're in the process of this proceeding, then we have roughly $1.3 million disappear. Or if Z comes along and it's a big number, we have to elect at that point, do we buy it or do we walk? Am I correct? we have an alternative.
Where the way it works is, once we file the condemnation case, there's actually a mini trial at the beginning.
Yeah.
That will determine the value, and our appraiser has determined that the Charleston course is worth $170,000, that's it. Because it has been decommissioned for golf course use, it's in the floodplain, and it's not able to be redeveloped at this time for a higher and better use. That's what our MAI appraiser from Conroe, Matt Whitney, has determined. So $170,000 is the X number. We do not have a response from Blackburn, which is not a surprising thing. I don't think he will respond, other than through surrogates, right? That's how Blackburn is going to handle this. And so we don't know what Y is and we don't know what Z is. But our number going into the proceeding is 170. And that's what I'm going to ask the commissioners to award. And then if either side is not happy with what the commissioners do, it becomes a regular trial, as Mr. Kurtzinger was saying. And if someone prays for a jury, the jury decides. If someone does not pray for a jury, the court decides. The court meaning the judge. And to answer that last specific point, at any time up until we take possession of the golf course, the former golf course property, it's not a golf course anymore, we can dismiss the condemnation case. Now, there are certain things that go along with that, and I'm not going to give free legal advice to Mr. Blackburn on the record, but up until essentially when you take possession, you can dismiss it. So if the number is some humongous number that's way out of whack, you can decide not to continue.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Now, John, do you have any other pertinent questions, or can we move on?
I'm probably gonna let you move on, let me look at my own questions just a second.
And I know you're older than I am, so you can read faster.
I can read faster, I wrote this slower, and I'm not gonna ask all these questions, although I'd love to know the answers. But anyway, I think I'll pass it.
Okay. Next, Tom Bandler.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that this is what I think it is for flood mitigation or control. I think our neighborhood needs to look very strongly at doing it. And if you look at the situation since Harvey particularly, and I've only been here half as long as you, so, but if you look at our situation since Harvey, our entire neighborhood, the desirability of this neighborhood has declined, mostly because of the big flood cloud. My house is an example. If I moved it to Crichton Woods across the street, it would be worth 2 to 3 times more than it is right now. It benefits every one of us if we can mitigate these floods or at least control them. And my understanding, that's part of what we're trying to do. I think it's worth the money to get out there and try to take care of this and bring this neighborhood back. And I would ask each of you to vote for it. That's my side of the sale.
Mr. Midlancy? You make a comment? Deborah and Ray Lansing?
No, I didn't have a comment.
No comment?
And it's Laney.
Dolores?
Can I talk after? I'm still doing my notes.
Pardon?
Do you have your hearing aids in?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I speak after, at the end? I'm still doing my
As
notes.
the last comment?
Yeah.
Betty Brown? No. Chapman?
No, no. No comment.
No comment.
No. Denise and Tim Harner?
Oh, I do.
And Thomas?
She does. I changed my mind. I just have a quick thing to add. I have a friend that lives in Clear Lake, and she lives on the golf course there. They had a similar situation. It wasn't exactly like ours, but it was similar. They've now turned part of their golf course into what they call it, it's in the Chronicle, Exploration Green. I urge y'all to look at that. It's fantastic. They have flood, they've mitigated their flooding. They have the parts where you can, have that. They're working on different phases. They have volunteers. It's absolutely fantastic, and they actually saved their neighborhood. So I would, urge y'all to look at that and see what a great idea that is. for our community. Exploration Green.
I was one of the lawyers that tried that case, so that's one of the reasons I'm here today.
Oh,
So
great.
you already have that benefit.
Okay, fantastic.
I know what people like Blackthorn are gonna say about it.
Jeff Jonas,
Actually, you skipped over me. I'm Ann Thomas.
pardon?
You skipped over me.
Are you Jeff?
No, I'm Ann. You skipped over me. You called my name and she said
Well,
something.
you don't have whether you wanted to comment or not.
Well, I didn't know this is my first time attending. I do apologize.
Okay,
I was told that this was going to be talking about some of our drainage and flood issues. I live on Chancellorsville Park. I've lived here for 10 years. This is the first time I've had water in my house. And it was only 4 inches, but I don't want water back in my house.
when did it occur?
During the Melda on the 18th. This last flood,
last
4
one.
Oh,
weeks
when
ago.
we had the 11 inches in 3 hours?
Yes, sir.
That was rather unique, I think.
Well, yes, but during Harvey, I got just as much rain during Harvey, and the floods waters didn't even get near
That's
my
right,
house.
because it didn't come in 3 hours.
Well, but,
That was the difference.
and I understand, sir, I'm an architect, I understand how water flows and how it goes and where it mitigates and how it drains. I've been an architect for 25 years now.
Yeah.
So, but this was, this hit weird. My front yard was dry, I was next to the driveway, I'm the one that lives next to the drainage ditch. The other problem I'm having is that since Imelda happened, I've cleaned out debris out of the drainage ditch. I found a bookcase and a sofa in it so far that I know is coming off of Stephen F. Austin. I don't know if it came out of somebody's yard and got washed away during the flood, or if it's just something that somebody dropped off along Stephen F. Austin.
Okay. Jeff Jonas?
Jones.
Jones, excuse me.
Yeah, so I live in Mosswood, so I don't have access to all the amenities and the niceties of RP, right? I'm just a tax-paying citizen for RPMUD, and so I'm here trying to figure out what exact benefit. Okay, you're the treasurer. You write the checks, so you're in my shoes. You write. Well, you sign the checks for the mud, right? Right. So I sign the checks every year for mud taxes, and I expect good service from sewer and water. As far as flood goes, you look at a 100-year floodplain, my house sits on the highest piece of land around. Homes in Mosswood, 1-bedroom or 1-story, 3-bedroom houses, they stay on the market very few days. So I'm not worried about the resale value from flooding. I live back to Stewart's Creek. It is in my backyard. So I'm not worried about buying the land for flood mitigation. I just want to know, what do my tax dollars get from buying property in a different subdivision?
You actually get since you referred it to me,
Yes.
since you addressed it to me, you actually get the benefits of everything that goes on in RP. Those walking trails that will be there, whatever we decide to do with that land, is open to the public for everyone to enjoy. Not just residents of RP, not just residents of RPMUD, East Plantation, Mosswood, you get the benefits. I'll give you a comment one of my clients said to me this morning. My client this morning said, when we were talking about the meeting tonight, because they were going to try to be here, said, I remember when I bought a home in RP used to drive down the freeway and people used to look and go, that's the place I want to go home to every night. Now you know what people say? What the heck has happened to RP? And not just RP, because people don't know the difference between RP and Mosswood. Even people that live in Mosswood think they live in RP. So you can't tell me you're not going to benefit from it.
I see no benefit from it.
Well,
If I
then-
could just say something, just to clarify, my job is just to help clarify the conversation tonight. There's a difference between River Plantation Community Improvement Association and
Yes.
River Plantation Mud, and I know you know that, this is not a talking down to you comment. And so, if River Plantation Community Improvement Association was buying it, it would exclude Mosswood.
That's fine.
Because the MUD is buying it, it by law has to include all inhabitants of the district. That's actually what the statute says, and it uses the word inhabitants. The lawyers write like that. We think it makes us sound smart. And so all inhabitants of the district will have the equal use of the facility. So it actually opens up the property, if you will, to Mosswood in a way that it wasn't before, if that makes sense.
Excuse me just a minute. What you just said was that EP could be excluded because they don't participate.
No, I didn't say that.
That's-
It has to be available to all district residents, but it's
But
also
they're not a district.
it's a public park. So
So
They're
there's
not in the district.
correct, but because it will be a public park, there's also federal laws and other state laws that say we can't exclude other people.
Oh,
So
Yeah, people from the city of Conroe are going to be able to come
That's
use
correct.
this
Well,
park.
okay, also, the county has agreed, in theory, to put a second way in and out of Mosswood, so that during the flooding, you can get out. You're not marooned in Mosswood. You have a second way out.
I'm a prepper. I'm fine with being marooned, but I'm not fine with spending money
That's fine.
that everybody in 50-mile radius could come use this park. Because then what kind of graffiti, what kind of crime, what kind of riffraff are you going to bring in? I see reports all the time from your own localized basketball courts of people vandalizing the basketball court. Now you're going to open it up to God knows who to come in our back door.
What's the option?
Let it grow up for all I care. It looks great with just a bunch of greenery. I mean,
That, we've hashed
currently
that.
Gone past
It's
the
also-
We've hashed that enough. Next item, Guick, Mike, Tex,
No comment, thank you.
Bernadette. Do you have a comment, Bernadette? I'm sure you do.
My husband should have
You
went.
never have been to a meeting you didn't have a comment, have you?
Well, I put her name down first.
He's always doing that. But anyway, my concern is not the purchasing of Charleston. I can see the situation of why we're all very concerned on the purchase of that. But my concern is who is going to maintain that 68 property? Is it going to be the MUD? Or there is another discussion taking place with the RPCIA that they will come in along with the county and participate in the cost. Who eventually is going to be responsible for the insurance on those walks and all that, because you know how unstable it is. Anyone fall on it, someone's gonna pay the penalty, the lawsuit and all that. I just wanna know who is going to carry the insurance, who is gonna carry the maintenance, who is gonna mow it every month? Is the county gonna come in? Is RHCIA gonna come in? And the MUD gonna participate? I just want the bottom line of
It
the
is
financial expense.
my opinion, and it's my opinion only, that if the MUD owns any, all, or part of this, and they wish to be, and the CIA wishes to, and make a park out of it, then they should lease that land to the CIA with an agreement that all of those things are at the CIA cost. The MUD at this point in time, the MUD at this point in time,
No, we can't
I
do
do not recommend that they would spend money for seesaws and swings and soccer fields when they need sewer and water.
Correct, and our reader,
Anyway,
water
that's-
reader. Okay, I wanna
that's
hear
my
what the
opinion.
attorney gonna say, and Julie.
Well,
Go ahead, Julie.
go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
all
gonna
right.
tell you, you can't. but
Yeah,
go
the,
ahead.
well, the two things I'll say is park can be green space, right? Okay, so I don't think you should anticipate vast public expenditures in gigantic improvements out there. The walking trails in green space is a park. Okay, so that's one thing. Two, the good news, and it's a MUD project. The MUD board is the one who voted to acquire it. So this board has to control all that. Now they can delegate that to consultants like myself, or they have a very good engineering firm, or others, but it all has to be done under the direction of the MUD. So the MUD does that. The last thing I'll say is, and this is good, and it's not a, we don't laugh or take stuff like this lightly because people get hurt is never a funny thing, but because it will be owned by a governmental entity, they have sovereign immunity. That's a legal concept that limits the district's liability. So as long as there are certain narrow parameters where the district can be sued, but ordinarily they're immune from suit. So you don't have to worry, even if something happened out there, there are ways for someone to get their costs covered. Of course, of course there's stuff like that.
But if
But
you
not a
lease it
$10
out-
million judgment against the district is not something,
If you lease it out for $1, that
that's not
immunity
something this
doesn't go.
board can even do.
We can't do
Can't do
that.
that.
Once we acquire it,
I don't know
we
where you're
have to
hearing that
keep
stuff.
it and
Yeah,
maintain it,
exactly.
and we own
We
it,
can't
and we
lease it?
can't do, no.
I
No,
don't,
so when you
you
put that
have
out
to
there,
run a
you
park. You can have, management
Well, I mean,
contracts.
as long as it's for that purpose, you can lease the
No.
land, can you not?
I don't, I mean, I don't believe you can.
Well,
Does this guy even know what the hell he's talking about?
The advice I got that was that you could, so.
It definitely didn't come from me, I know
This guy
that.
is the committee, not
I didn't ask you.
Yeah, I know.
But I asked another one.
I mean, you have to use it for a public purpose.
And that's still under the purview of what we're talking about. If we
Not if
lease
we
it,
don't
it
make
is
it.
for that purpose.
No.
I don't agree with that, Jack, I'm sorry, I don't.
Well,
I could be
anyway.
wrong, I doubt I'm wrong, but.
That's just a different opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go with the lawyer's opinion on this one, I think.
Yeah.
It's just my 2 cents.
I mean, you definitely can't, I mean, you have things like sports stadiums that are leased.
Yeah.
So you can lease public property, but, for example, Reliant Energy now, was not paid for through condemnation. It was acquired, right, so.
That is right.
Right, exactly, and I did all that
And
work.
there is a
I was
difference.
Yes, that's right, I did Minute Maid Ballpark, the Toyota Center, and my firm worked on energy. And
Right.
so I know all of this stuff. So it's just, there's a lot of parameters, but it has to be under the guise of the board, at the direction of the board. There are rules and laws that apply when it's a park, and that's a good thing, because it has to be operated
So
fairly.
the domain holder of that property will be under the MUD because they are the one, thank you.
Well,
Be sure
yes,
you
and if,
let them
and if
know
the,
that.
the MUD ever decided, you know what, this was a bad idea, we shouldn't have done it, we don't want to be in the park business,
Okay,
there are procedures for selling. It's, you know, we use dispossessing and fancy words like that, but selling and getting rid of it, you can't even just do that. You have to have public bidding, there's procedures that have to be followed.
thank you.
Right, so it's not stuff that can happen in secret
So
or
it's
at
not
night.
a vote that we take very lightly, even though we would love to see that, but we are gonna have to seriously consider.
We've already voted.
Oh, well.
The vote
Yeah,
happened
yes,
3
ma'am.
months
The
ago.
vote happened
Just
several.
give me an
Yeah, I'm not
average, how
sure,
much
this
I
was
pay
just a
us back.
procedural thing I needed from the board tonight. I'm not sure how we all got, but it's good that everyone's here, this is excellent to see you.
I want to continue on with questions on my behalf, Robert.
Go right ahead.
Okay, Julie, since you did this 3 months ago, we put together a financial plan of what the various scenarios can be.
We don't have numbers yet,
No,
we
you-
have
you-
estimates.
Look, you can take your low number, you take your high number.
Okay.
You can figure out this is what we can afford. You don't go into a deal and say, I'm gonna buy something, get commitment, and come out and say, I can't do it because I don't have money.
That won't
So did
happen.
you put together a plan?
That won't happen. We have bonds available to
Well,
us
that's
to
where you're
issue.
looking at saying.
We have loans available from the Texas
So
Water
you're saying any
Board.
amount of money you can afford?
No, that's not what I'm saying, but if it will help this community from flooding and get it back to where it was 30
I
years
don't
ago,
disagree with that. What I'm heading to is say, you know what you're going into.
we know what we're
Because
going
it doesn't
into.
sound-
I do anyway.
From a
I know what I'm
financial
going
standpoint,
into.
that's what I'm trying
Yes.
to determine. There should be some numbers on the table
What,
to reflect that.
drainage?
This is what we
This tax, the
anticipate,
drainage.
should this happen, what we expect the increase to be in our tax rate. And I can support it, I don't have a problem. But it's this blindsided going into.
No, we're not, yeah,
I do have a problem with
they're
it.
ahead of
The
us.
second-
We don't know
And
that.
the other thing
From what I
here,
understand,
let me
they're
finish one more thing
checking
here.
that.
And you're talking about $168,000. I think just about everybody knows in here.
than 3 minutes?
Everybody in here knows that Ed Blackburn got an offer for what, $1.5, $2 million. And there was a builder willing to get on that and build that property. So how can you justify, we can condemn a property?
We had an appraiser.
Well,
That's what the
appraiser will do
appraisal
anything
came in
you
at.
want, ma'am.
That's
But
not,
I
yes,
never
know how
talked,
to do.
Jack and I
I'm
met
saying,
with the
if
appraiser
D.
one
Horton-
time,
if
that's
D.R.
it.
Horton comes in here and says, I can buy it, and I'll pay $2 million, what does that do to your appraiser value?
D.R. Horton didn't buy it.
Well, no, but that guy was gonna do it, that's why he sued. them.
Yes, and he didn't. That's the
Yeah,
whole point.
because there's an intervention, he had money ready to spend, and the RPCA went down to the title company and closed out the deal, they couldn't make it. So he's got a buyer for more
That's,
money.
that's actually not accurate. They could have still closed on it. So I'm not meaning to trump what you're saying. They could have
I'm trying to
closed.
say, I have a problem from the standpoint of being fair with Mr. Blackburn, is, are you using the court system to get an unfair price? That's my problem. Otherwise, buy it, I don't care, but just so long as you get a, you don't approach this from an adversarial standpoint.
No, of course not. It's
And
not
you can
adversarial.
But if you look at it from, can we do a deal together, and the buyer's willing to sell at this price, and the seller's willing to sell it.
Excuse me, sir.
I'm through, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Robert?
That's me, I'm.
Excuse you were next.
I'll turn it up.
Denise
He
Waller.
called on you again? No.
Yeah, I don't wanna say anymore, I said more than enough.
No comment. Steve Turk, no comment.
Yeah, you answered my question. I was wondering, in the intermediate, where it's gonna land, and you've answered that already. It's gonna, the MUD is gonna be the owner of the responsibility, so that was my question.
Yes. That's what it sounds like.
I'm on board with that.
Ron Finster? Finster?
Completely separate from that. East ditch, has there been any change in the status of that? I've heard.
Which ditch? This ditch out here, the concrete line ditch?
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir, there'll be a change. We'll address that at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Carol Monique. Shirley Rogers.
No.
Sam,
Yo,
go.
yeah, well, you know, the last meeting, Jack, I asked you if it was okay if we went down to the Corps of Engineers, spend our dime down there to ask them what's going on with the creek. I was calling it a ditch too, but they changed my mind when I got down there, right? So Joe and I went down there.
They prefer to call it a creek.
It's a creek. Believe me, it's a creek and they'll fight you over it. She will anyway. But
Believe me, it's all in the nomenclature, believe me.
Yes, but I do appreciate your phone call prior to us going down there telling me that the creek was gonna be cleaned up.
That's right.
It was gonna be cleaned up. When we went down there anyway, and to talk to the lady, her name is Christy McMillan. She is in charge of this whole area, all the way up to Dallas, right? In charge of the waterways and whatever. Anyway, she informed me that this is a creek, it's not a ditch, not a cement ditch. And that if we wanted to go in there and extract vegetation, dirt, rubble, we could do so. We've always been able to do that. That's what she told us.
Yeah, without a permit.
Without a permit. However, if you go in there and bring dirt in, or start to repair something, then you've got to get the permit. You guys have already known that, right? From the beginning. Right? So the fine of $25,000 a day is something that could be done on a fine basis. Back to the way it was prior to the concrete going in. She said, do you think we would really do that? So I said, well, we don't know. You know, we've been told that that could happen. And she says, well, let me tell you this. This is what we're responsible for as part of the Corps of Engineers. If you have a fire there, what does she say? If you go in there and throw in pesticides, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
She says, where you get a problem with me is you go in there and change the route of that creek.
Or add any dirt or any other thing into the creek, which affects the flow.
That's where the Corps of Engineers come to play.
Yeah.
Right. You can take it up, but can't put it in. So the other thing she said is there is what was it, a process or a program called Nationwide Program 13. I believe that's what it's called.
Yes.
Nationwide Permit 13.
No, it's program.
No, it's permit.
It's all in the nomenclature.
But that was wrong. But what it has to do with, and I'll make it quick because I only got 3 minutes, has to do with bank stabilization. So if you wanted to go into Stewart's Creek right now and fix Stewart's Creek, because I've heard that that's Blackburn's property all over there as well. We got a tree felled in there, looks like hell. You could go in there and extract that tree if it's going to help prevent erosion. So, but it was a very interesting conversation with her, and we've asked her to send us a letter. We had to send a letter to her requesting a letter back so that we could verify this with you guys. Trust but verify, right?
Did they ever come out?
On April the 29th, we sat down with Kevin Brady's representative and 3 representatives of the U.S. Corps of Engineers. I don't recall her name being one of them.
She wasn't aware of any of this before.
And we were told at that meeting to not touch anything in that ditch.
Well, we're gonna get a letter from her, Jack, saying.
Well, now wait a minute,
to
I'm not
confirm
through.
what we
I'm
just
not
told
through.
you.
On October 1st, we sent an email to the U.S. Corps of Engineers as a result of the last meeting that we had,
Right,
questioning why we couldn't do this.
right.
The permit, the man that handles all the permit was our communicator. He, at that time, informed us, well, he said, maybe you can. Let me think about it. He called back Richard, said, yes, we found, we may give you an exception. And I said, get it in writing. We now have an exception in writing to clean the ditch. It will be done commencing November 4. We've taken bids. It'll be done on November 4.
Good.
Starting November 4.
Good. Way to go, Jack.
Is there anything?
What about where the creek is about to wash away Magnolia Drive in the Mosswood?
That is
Because the gas line's exposed over
That's
there.
Stewart's Creek.
Now, she also.
That's a whole different story.
I mean, it's the same creek. It winds behind my
There are
house.
study upon study by the state, by the county, and by the Corps of Engineers done on Stewart's Creek, and nobody has reached any conclusion.
Well, she
That's
told
why
us
you need that
they-
second way in and second way
Yeah,
out.
if it's on fire, you know, but, you know.
County can raise the main road.
She's not responsible for this creek, okay?
Pardon?
She's not responsible for Stewart's Creek.
Yeah,
Corps of Engineers, they're not responsible for ours. If they were telling us that we can't do anything to it, then they ought to be responsible for the creek, come out and clean it. But anyway, we've already settled that problem and it's done.
By the way, the fine is not $25,000 a day anymore. It's $37,500.
Well, whatever. She basically
They went
said-
up.
Well, okay.
Anyway,
The other thing she said too is she gave us a real, very good overview of River Plantation, how it's in a bowl, blah, blah, blah. But she said what you really need to start watching out for and what your board really needs to do is start going to other board meetings of mud, other muds. And she said you really need to start working on what's going on north of you.
Yeah.
They raised all that property up there so it wouldn't flood up there so they could build on it commercially. That's pushing all that water down here, and she said what you need to start looking at is, she said, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but retention ponds. She said you need to find out what's going on north.
Sam, retention pond, when you have 11 inches of water in 3 hours, is not going to do
But
anything.
Jack, she said that it's not gonna solve a problem, what it's gonna do is it's not make it as bad.
Yeah.
And she said if you wanna widen, everybody keeps talking about widening San Jacinto River. She says that won't help either.
No.
She said majority of the San Jacinto River is below the surface. So if you dig a hole, more water is gonna come in. So, you just see,
Anyway.
getting in front of her is a
We
really good
need, we
thing.
need to watch the World Series, Sam.
Yep, we're gone.
Joe, did you participate with Sam, or you got another reason?
No, I just, want to be here to
You
direct him how to
make
get
sure
back
it's
home.
different between programs. Okay, thank you. Riley Fussell? No?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of like a point he brought up, this is gonna be considered a public park. What's the point, what are we planning to do with the land? Basically, keep it kept, keep the walking trails, as we call them, the old golf cart trails there? Are we planning to put any amenities in there that, like he said, right off the freeway, people are gonna be able to see, could end up attracting the public? But what's the plan, what do we plan to do with the property?
There is no plan at the present time.
Excellent.
There
So
has been
it's-
discussions of things
Right,
to do
we've
with
kicked
it,
ideas around.
options,
Cut the grass.
whether it's the soccer field.
No, soccer will bring them in, trust me.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
soccer.
Football.
Okay.
No.
I just wanted
You
to.
had your chance. You had your chance. It's my turn. Okay. Soccer fields, frisbee golf, bird watching areas, greenscapes, retention ponds. And yes, we have already thought about maintaining it and getting it cut. So we've looked into that kind of stuff.
But y'all are aware of the potential risk for increased burglary, things of that nature, should we put certain amenities in there?
Conroe is the fastest growing city in the United States.
Correct.
I don't think us putting a park in here is necessarily going to be the reason that crime changes at all.
We already have a
That's
Yeah,
what
we have crime now.
But the more traffic you bring through the neighborhood, it could definitely.
Well, we could put a gate up there too and not let anybody in.
I'm not
But
saying that. I mean,
I don't
I'm not
think we
looking
want
for
to
an
do
answer
that.
like that. I'm just
Walking and jogging
wondering.
trails are the #1 plus in the woodlands.
Excuse me, with just one person at a time.
So,
Riley has the
so
seat.
no set plan as of yet.
No, the options
set
are
plan.
open.
Okay.
Let's just clean it up.
Next will be Jamie Goodman.
Y'all already answered my question.
Okay, Mike Lee.
Yeah, we're at a huge pivotal point right here for the future RP. I mean, everyone knows what we've been battling for the last 3 years. This is huge that you guys have taken this on. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing on it. We've got outstanding legal counsel. He's been there at all the court hearings for the RPCIA. He knows the situation. So I just implore you to, listen to the legal counsel there. I'm so glad you guys voted the way you did. Minus one vote that did not vote for that. As far as the money goes, gosh, 2.1 million available, I just heard. 195K total. I think we're in the ballpark. Even if it goes higher or whatever, it's not going to be a huge issue there. I'm just talking. Ann Thomas mentioned how she flooded this last time. Those houses that were planned to be put in there by D.R. Horton, we all know we would be in the situation that Ann Thomas is in this last time. And these guys just mentioned what East Plantation Mud was doing and the direct and drainage down there. We're having problems there too. If anybody wants to see what those plans look like on the golf course, on those fairways, I have pictures and I can show you if you haven't seen them yet. 183 houses down the middle of those fairways. I've got a picture I can show you, happy to. So really we got the two main issues, the ditch that's causing the flooding, that a lot of folks came to the meetings and we had a great discussion on it. The board acted and look where we're at. We're making progress there. This is the other huge eyesore in RP, and just to acquire that land, mow it, fair market value, the owner gets his piece, he gets rid of it, we get it in perpetuity. I mean, we're gonna be able to lock this down we got a bunch of old folks in here, me included. For our grandchildren, not you, but for our grandchildren and our kids that are gonna acquire our houses and everything else, that land that's gonna be huge. We're gonna be able to get back to RP with the covered bridge and the beautiful entrance. People already come in and use the park out here. Or what is it, Phillips Park, to do their photos and all that kind of stuff. It's just gonna expand all that. So anyway, thank you for you guys. I mean, it's huge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone?
I have a real quick question I didn't even think about. Let's say the judge, you said that we're gonna present a cost, owner of the property is gonna present a cost, the judge is gonna decide. Not that it would happen, but if the judge offers out of our means, are we obligated still to purchase it, or are we allowed to back out? I don't know the legality, but it's kind of a position.
Yeah, sure. So again, the way it works is it's determined by a panel initially, and then it'll either be a judge or a jury, right? And if you pray for a jury, it's a jury, and pray means request for one in our world. And it's a $10 fee, and you get to have a jury decide. If you don't do that, the judge decides. The judge is limited by the evidence, right? So if we say 170 and whatever Blackburn says, she can't do 10 times Blackburn's number, or the jury can't, right? It can be somewhere in there, and again, it's a complicated, because there's lots of little caveats to everything in the law, but basically the way it works is if we haven't taken possession, we can abandon the case at any time, subject to paying their fees. So we would have to pay, and which is a fair thing, right? If we bring them to the court and then decide not to do it, we ought to have to pay their fees. I think that's a just rule. But as long as we haven't prejudiced him and started using the property, then we can abandon. That's kind of the word,
okay.
The thing.
Excellent.
Silence.
Just
go.
That's okay. I think my questions have been kind of answered through all of these, so we're good. For this
Been
one,
answered?
yeah.
For this month, I'll be back.
Please come back.
Your timetable, how this goes down?
I mean, I'd rather not talk about that.
Okay.
You know, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We're not talking about what?
The timetable, we don't have an agenda item for something that specific, and that's sort of executive session type stuff. But there's boxes we have to check, basically is the way it works. There's statutory time frames. We're gonna hit the holidays, that tends to slow things down. You know, it's just the reality of it. So I can't tell you exactly when, but we're doing our best.
Well, you iterated in a prior meeting that it could take 1 to 2 years.
I think to get to, so the way it works, that's fair, Jack, so let me give the full analysis.
I mean, I'm just giving so somebody will have an idea.
Yeah, I mean, to be finished, yeah, it's at least a year. We won't try the case sooner than a year if someone appeals the initial result. Both parties may live with the initial result. It may be a number that is not what we were hoping for, but it's not something that Blackburn wants to fight over, and it goes away. But if either side appeals, yeah, it's probably about a year till we have a jury trial. And it's Court 2, Judge Laird. She hears all condemnation cases in Montgomery County, so that's who will handle it. And she's a very good judge. I just tried a case in front of her last month.
Getting it on the docket would be what,
Oh.
by March?
I mean, I don't know yet.
The next item on the agenda will be the acquisition of former Charleston course from River Plantation Properties LLC. And item A is status of acquisition efforts.
So that would be me. Yes,
Status
sir.
report?
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to. So I'm here for two quick things, all I need. So I think it was probably 3 months ago now, the board voted to proceed with acquiring the Charleston course. And so we started that process, and there's a bunch of boxes you have to check before we finish that process, right? And so we have sent the initial offer, the appraiser, who is an MAI appraiser in town, who is very good and does not just say whatever you pay him to, determined it was $170,000. That offer is pending, and there are statutory timeframes that apply to all of this. We've not heard a response. I know Blackburn is aware of it, that's obvious. And I've spoken with his lawyers about it, and they've not given me any sort of a substantive response on the matter. So that's where we are. The initial offer is still outstanding. It hasn't expired yet. And when it does, we'll send another offer. We're required to send 2 offers. And what I need from you tonight is, and it has to be by vote, because that's how everything is, but this is part of the process you've already approved, is this is the official document that says you can go to court once all of the pre-condemnation steps have been accomplished. And so you've already voted to do it, but at the time you voted, we didn't know how big the property was, we didn't have some of the things we needed, and there's a statutory form that has to be followed, which is why I'm back here, basically. So that's my update, and that's what this motion is. And so what would normally happen is you don't need to read this, you can just say, I've so moved, somebody needs to say, I move this, and then what this does is it's your official condemnation resolution.
All right. Barring that would be the next item on
Yes.
this deal. And I have one question to ask. Can we amend your motion?
I believe that this is the only motion that's on the agenda right now. So in order to change it.
Well, it just says take action as follows, just as necessary.
Yes. I mean, my view is this is the resolution.
What you say is acquisition of former Charleston course.
Yes, that's right, the whole course.
Well, it doesn't say whole, it just says former
We
Charleston.
That's what that means.
I understand what you're saying, what the inference is.
Yes.
But can that be amended?
I don't know. Yeah, you've already voted on it.
Yeah.
I think you would be undoing a prior vote to do that, which I suppose the board could do. I'm not sure this is the right agenda item to do that. I think you would need a different agenda item. I mean, to be totally defensible, I think if that was something someone had asked me to do for the agenda tonight, I would have written a different agenda item. That's the
Okay.
best way I can answer that.
Okay. So that being the case, what you're saying is that it can't be amended at this point in time. That it would have to be on the agenda if one wished to amend it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had a different approach, you need to put an agenda item to discuss whatever it is you're proposing to do.
Okay.
And would that start the process all over again?
It would. If you changed, if you voted to start over with a different project, we would have to start the project all the way over, and we'd have to rehire the appraiser to do that. He'd have to do a new appraisal, and the timeline would start all the way over. And all the work that I've charged you for would have to, yes, unfortunately, yes, because that's just the way. The statute requires us to do a bunch of things for the property we want.
By the way, how much have your charges been thus far?
I don't have a total tonight, sir, I'm sorry. I didn't think
I did a quick number, it's up to $22,000.
I don't think that's for this.
Does that sound correct?
It does not. Remember, we're handling 2 other lawsuits for you at the same time.
Well, one settled.
Yes, it did. It did, and it was non-suited last week. So that one is finally over. And then we're also still interveners in the CIA lawsuit. And we have until, the court has given us until November 22nd. See, this is not really on the agenda, but we're still remember how we first intervened in their lawsuit? And
Well,
then
I'm just looking at legal bills.
Yeah, exactly. I think that includes some of that other work. I would be surprised if we're 22 on this already.
Well, that's 3 months worth.
So
I don't think I've done that much
I
work.
propose that we accept the resolution as written by Smith Murdoch, and we vote on that resolution.
Motion has not been called at the present time. Question is not called. The question is there a motion to accept the resolution as presented by legal counsel?
I'm
Or,
going to make a motion to accept the
just a
resolution.
minute, we'll call the question. Hold your horses. You're gonna get your way.
I don't know that.
The HOA has got you well documented.
No, they don't.
Anyway.
That's not right.
I'd like to make a
That's
motion.
a no.
I'm
I don't wanna hear
voting
anymore.
today, and I resent
That's
the
enough.
fact that you
Just because you have an opinion and you
That
have
is
an
enough.
agenda and I have a different agenda, it has nothing to do with the HOA.
The question has not been called at this time. Now, the resolution confirming the existence of public necessity for the construction, operation, and maintenance of parks, recreational facilities, and authorizing the acquisition by donation, purchase, or exercise of the power of eminent domain of property, interest necessary for such facilities, take action as necessary. Now, is there a motion? The question is called, is there a motion to accept?
I make a motion that we accept the resolution as written by Smith Murdoch.
I second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
4 for? You're in
Aye.
favor?
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Yes.
4. 4 to 1. All right, that's done. Review and approve the annual auditor agreement. We have a auditor's report that's due. We found out that when we called them.
Do you want me to
Do we need
stay?
sign it, or-
Pardon?
I have brought, it's got your names filled in, but I've got a blank copy here if you want to sign the resolution. It does need to be signed. You don't have to do that at this exact moment, but this one has the names filled in, and whoever wants to sign it is fine. But normally the president would sign it, even though you voted against it, it would still be appropriate to sign it.
The item of business before the board is that there is an audit agreement that needs to be signed. It is the same audit agreement we've had for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years at the same price. And it's time to commence the audit. And I recommend that the board approve said agreement.
Do you see a estimate on the cost in here?
$1,100 or $1,200 is what it's been running. There's been no increase in fees.
How much?
Well, I think the total was around 11,000.
11,000.
I'm thinking of it on a monthly basis.
You want me to make a motion?
I made the motion
Okay.
to accept. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
You seconded it? All in favor of accepting the audit letter as agreed?
Aye.
So moved. Review the financial and bookkeeping matters.
Ready to go home? They haven't done it yet.
I don't think I saw anything. I don't know. No. Do we need to keep calling the clock or?
Pardon?
Do we need to keep calling the clock?
No.
I just need to get the
You
resolution,
need
the
to
signed
get that signed.
resolution, if I could have that.
Thank you for being open and answering our questions.
course.
They're very informative.
Very
We
good.
appreciate it.
My pleasure. Glad everyone could be here.
Just the one copy?
Yes, and then I'll take it maybe back to Richard, real quick and make a
Well,
copy for
either
you.
that or just send us a copy of it.
Okay, I can do that, that's fine. Yeah, that'll be perfect. So I'll just scan it, is that okay?
Yeah.
Email it to you, Richard? Okay, all right. I'll, you want me to get off the
Just
clock?
send us a copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Get off the dole. Thanks, Tom.
I'm the guy no one ever wants to
to
see, it's just a
I do
weird
have
feeling.
I do have one question on the financials. Richard, it shows that we've only got one outstanding CD, or I should say one outstanding. So we've only got one that's coming up for renewal, and that's not until December, right?
Right.
Okay.
Good night. Thank you.
And the rates seem kind of going down.
And that, so is the Fed.
Okay.
And they're headed for zero is what it sounded like.
I think that was anything. I didn't have anything.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I saw in there that I needed to comment on.
What was that land you're building for?
Pardon?
Maintenance repair?
Oh, that's in there, he put that in there because we made the agreement. We took bids, and made the agreement on, and he put the $27,000 in there, isn't that correct? He went ahead and accounted for it.
Okay.
Yeah, although he hadn't spent the money yet, and it won't be spent until November, until they get through.
On which one?
Maintenance and repair.
Maintenance and repair.
There's a $27,000 item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why he stuck it in there either. It's just something that's already accounted for, but it's accrued, but it hadn't been,
Hadn't been paid yet.
not gonna be paid for a while. I wanna call your attention to the fact that the budget is roughly $150,000 over through 11 months. I think it's 149,000 and change to be exact. So, taxes didn't increase, but very slightly. So we're gonna have to do something to raise capital to maintain our level of service. And that's hopefully we don't have any hiccups. That does not include capital expenditures, by the way, which we've got roughly $1 million coming down the pack. All right. Do we have any other questions about financial and bookkeeping matters? Administrative report. You'll find that to be the case as water produced decreases, our losses decrease.
Well, and I'm guessing what Richard said before, the temperature and the rain is gonna help the pipes, right?
No, it doesn't help the pipes, not the rain.
But we still
Rain
have,
causes, it helps subsidence, which.
but we still have a lot more accounts over $50,000.
Yeah,
It's going up
that's-
instead of going down.
Just look at 30,000 up,
I know.
and accounts
they're
for
going-
1/3.
Even though we raised the rates.
Yeah. It just showed we didn't raise them enough.
Right.
Well, I mean,
That's
I'm
the
serious.
honest, that's true.
and this was a wet month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to up Social Security to cover that.
Are there any other questions about the administrative report?
Nope.
No, sir.
All right, discuss any pending business. Number one, from the last meeting, Richard,
Sir?
you were instructed to get bids on surveillance equipment.
Oh. Yeah, I've got that right here. I had already
Did you
done-
or did you not?
I had already done that.
He had done it in April.
Yes.
He was just gonna present them to us.
And here's all the bids that I got. The plants were the only items that I was looking at, and the
Well,
office. Realistically, the office.
What I wanna know is, you do have the bids here,
Yes.
and you think these are current enough to be considered?
Yes, because
That
I
we will place
requested,
it on next month's agenda?
I requested it last month
I
and
know
they
you
sent me
did.
those
That's
saying
real.
that they had already sent them to Richard and that those were the current.
So what we'll do, we'll put this on the agenda for next month. It's just a matter of ringing your buzzer. Status of the ditch cleaning, I believe we covered. We have a permit from the Corps of Engineers to do it. In addition to that, our overall permit to repair, and I'm gonna use my nomenclature, the ditch. Last week, the environmentalists did the survey, stream survey as they call it, and it'll take them, at this time of year, probably a month, and it'll be submitted to the Corps, and it'll take them 1 to 2 months to look at it and decide what they want to do with it. And then they'll come back with more questions. So it's just a never-ending procedure with the Corps of Engineers. Now, is there anything else that we had that we've discussed pending that we need to,
Yes, did we get the email addresses set up for us?
I don't know.
Email addresses are set up. All I need from you is what you want me to put as your email. In other words, just write down what you want it to be at rpmud.com.
Okay.
Just give them to me, or you can email it to me, and then I'll set you up. You're ready to go.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn along with a wish that the Astros do well tonight.
Well, they are already doing it.
We will sign checks at the conclusion of this meeting.
Okay.
Is it already adjourned?
I'll
or can I
I'll
ask
second the
one question I completely forgot to
sorry.
ask. Do we have a spending limit we're willing to spend on the purchase?
Do we have what?
Do we have a cutoff limit, how much we're willing to spend to purchase Charleston?
We will, we don't yet.
Don't yet? Cool. Thank you.
We won't know until we know what the number is.
Well,
And the
we've
number
only got
is-
so much in the bank, are we willing to spend all 2.2 million, or are we willing to spend $1.5 million?
No.
That's the intimation so far.
Gotcha.
I don't want to show my whole hand.
Yeah, Jack, you need to sign that.